Good morning, America. Good afternoon, Africa, and good day to the rest of the world. I have an enormous pleasure today to welcome Kristen Griffith-Vanderyacht. What a name! I mean, what a name!
Royalty,
Yeah,
like royalty is in the house today.
Yeah, exactly. And he is an amazing florist. First of all, like I have seen some of your work that you have done, very creative.
I would call you a floral designer.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
Not just a florist.
Yeah, that's
yeah.
right. Yeah, you are absolutely right. But yeah, now I start actually. You interrupt me like the. So yeah, let's start all over again. He is an amazing floral designer, and he is also somebody that is in the recently very well known for the big flower fight as an extraordinary judge. People love you. People actually follow you just because of this. This is also quite funny because sometimes you can do an amazing job and you are not so much recognized, but when you are a little bit more present at media, people just follow you. But this is actually just like a short introduction. Very welcome to our piece of the puzzle, Chet. And as I say, we are extremely happy to have you here.
Thank you so much. Oh,
thank you. Thank you for having me. This is such a pleasure already.
That's amazing. I think everyone knows the big flower fight. I can just say this. I mean, I know people who have got nothing to do with flowers, but they know the big flower fight. And I think that is the beauty actually of also a platform like that you have obviously endorsed by being a judge there, but also drawing attention to flowers and also the joy of flowers and what people can do with flowers and just like bringing them a smile with a plant that is, I think, in most cases still undervalued, like the healing power also of what flowers can bring to people. So first of all, I also just want to say thank you for doing that, because for everyone in the flower industry, I think it gave them, particularly now in the time that we are in, a huge comfort in a way, and I think that is great that you could be part of something like that. But I want to start actually not in the now, because obviously now a lot of people know your face, and even if they do not know a lot about you, they can put one and one together. But I actually want to start with a Kristen that is like his younger self.
Oh, sure.
Sorry to interrupt. You wanted to start with the piece of the puzzle.
Why? That I wanted to do later. Yeah.
So
I wanted
this is mom and dad. This is
mom and daughter. Yes. So I just wanted to find out how did your love and passion for flowers actually start? Because right now, in the time that we are in, I think a lot of people contemplating whether it is the right thing that they are doing, where do they want to go from here, what is it that brings them joy, and who are they as a person, and how to move on. And I think the way how someone started, particularly also someone like you, because I think your context is very important to follow also your story. Particularly also for the US right now. I mean, you are in America, you are a Black, amazing florist or floral designer in America, leading a way for a lot of peers that you have, and you are a role model for a lot of people. But how did it start, and how difficult was it actually to pave your way as a floral designer in the environment that you are in?
Oh gosh, well, thank you for that amazing intro. Wow, that was just so beautiful. And thank you so much for having me on. There are so many things that have sort of converged in my life that have brought me to this moment and to this point. And so whenever someone asks me how I started, I really say that it was a series of circumstances that created an opportunity for me to listen to what the universe was telling me. At the time, I was actually in grad school for a completely different career. I was going to Columbia University for counseling psychology. And I had been doing flowers just for my house, just to brighten up my home. I was living in, Brooklyn in a 6th floor walk up. And, these New York City apartments are very small. So I had been doing flowers before that as a hobby. And I was going to grad school. I was going to be a therapist, and I didn't love it. I didn't love the practice. It didn't feel like it really aligned with who I was as a person. Yes, I am very chatty. Yes, I'm curious about, what makes people tick. And I really want to create a space that is warm and inviting for people to really sort of feel comfortable to be themselves. But more than anything, I was an artist. I knew that deep down that I was an artist, and I just didn't have the tools or the medium that I needed in order to get that out of my system and get that out. And so I loved doing flowers. I got engaged to my now husband, and I was like, well, I guess I'll be doing flowers for my wedding. And so
when was that? How long ago was that? What year?
2013. I say 2013, 2012, 2013 is really when the light bulb went off in my brain. I had been really doing flowers since 2010, but again, that was more like, oh, I just love this for myself. I never thought of it as a career. But in 2013, that was when it sort of clicked for me, because I had that comparison. I had grad school, and then I had flowers, and I was able to compare them in real time. And I think for a lot of people, you're in a career and you don't want to take time off from that career in order to explore what your real interests are, because fear sets in. Fear prevents you from taking that big leap. Because I was in grad school, I had 3 days off a week that I could go and be an intern at a flower shop. I had dedicated time off that I wasn't in school. So, and had I not had that opportunity to explore my interest, I don't know that I would have been able to have found flowers. And once I dipped my toe in, I was like, oh, that's it. This is perfect.
You're so
I'll take two. Yeah, no, it was really crystal clear. And I did that for about a year. I knew a year before I actually took the leap full time into flowers, I felt it growing and I felt it building. And for all those reasons that you described, because it has a huge healing factor. There's research out there that says that when people are immersed in nature and immersed in flowers, is that they actually live longer, happier, and healthier lives. And it's because that's where we belong. So I knew that about myself, that I needed to be around it. And I also knew the joy that it brought other people. So that is really sort of the circumstances that allowed me to confidently go into doing flowers.
That's amazing. And I think, everyone has a journey, but I also think there is no straight path to happiness. I think to all the people that we have spoken to, I think none of them said from the start they want to become like a floral designer. No. Right. They all had sort of a detour, and they were basically finding their way towards their love and their passion for flowers. But also, and this is maybe also that you can comment on, everything that that they have done before have prepared them better for where they are at that stage. So there's no waste of time, because a lot of people maybe think that you're doing the one thing and then only you're finding your way towards your passion, but everything prepares you for where you need to be. Do you also take now something from your previous experience, something that helps you from the time in grad school to where you are at now?
Absolutely. All of the experiences that I've had have added to my art. They've added to my experience as a designer. And I think that what we all need to be doing, and this doesn't just apply to floral design, I think it can apply to every single career and aspect of life, is that you really need to be listening. Listening is the hardest part, because our ego tells us that we should be doing. We need to be constantly running around and constantly working because we value ourselves based on our productivity. But sometimes the real growth and the real change happens when you're able to sit back and be silent and listen. And that's what a lot of people are experiencing right now. We have dedicated time because some people, a lot of people aren't working. A lot of people are still in their houses. A lot of people, like, the world has been turned on its ear. And a lot of people are being forced to be silent, and they're being forced to listen. And for some, they're welcoming of that opportunity. For others, they're fighting against it. And I think that if you are still out there and you're fighting against it, actually, like, just surrender. Surrender to what is happening, because this is an opportunity for you to make cosmic shifts in your life. And so, yes, so all of my other experiences have definitely helped me grow into the designer that I am today. But also, I feel like I'm still growing. I still feel like I'm learning every day. Even on the show, I learned so much from the contestants on the show. And I was so inspired by everything that they did. It was an incredible opportunity for me to be immersed in their creative process. Right? I didn't have to do anything. I just said, go over there, do that, put that higher. Didn't have to do anything except be present. And I got to watch, observe, and learn from them. And that was probably the greatest experiential gain that I could have had while on that show.
This is so interesting what you are saying, that you are on the learning path. I think we all, like, until we die, we are on a learning path. So this is like why somebody that is maybe 60, 70, 80 should not, like, get something new to learn. I mean, like, I may be like double of your age and I still want to learn a lot. And sometimes I feel like when I, for example, when I sign up for a workshop, you know, like, people say, what's wrong? Why are you signing up for the workshop? You know, like, I mean, like, because I want to learn something new, you know? There's a lot, there's still a lot what I wanted to know, and techniques, and like how people do things differently, you know? I want to learn this. If I then use it or not is a totally different thing. But I just want to learn it, and I want to enjoy learning it. And as we can see here, we have people from all over the world. Farida is from Pakistan.
Hi, Farida.
Yeah. Can you see that?
And she wants to have a second edition. And I think a lot of people, like, wanted, we are not pushing you into any corner to say, like, what are maybe the future plans for the big flower fight. But what I just actually, and I wanted to kick in, like, here where you said, you know, a lot of people at this moment in time have actually, like, time for themselves, and maybe also to rediscover a little bit their own journey. And that's why now where I maybe want to also explain, because I see that there are also people maybe from the US that are following you, which we are grateful that they are on the show as well, to just explain them what the situation in South Africa is and why we actually have come up with the Piece of the Puzzle series. Because we here in South Africa, and we represent, like, not only South Africa, but a lot of the Southern African countries, because we do import and export business for a lot of those countries. We are, after more than 160 days, still in stage 2 out of 5 lockdown. And that means for the entire industry that we do not have like, obviously, events as everyone was used to, only since about now
2.5 weeks,
3 weeks. Yeah, 3 weeks. We are allowed to have events for up to 50 guests.
People.
Yeah, people, like, including all service providers and everything. But we have a curfew still that is until 10 o'clock. So obviously it's very limited. But before that, we obviously also had a time where we just had, like, zero connection to the world. We had a complete lockdown, and we then came up with the idea that we need to speak to people, bring people to Africa, but also bring Africa to the world. And that's why I am, like, really grateful that you are on the show as well, because it shows also the interest of international icons like you, and I call you now an icon, that is, like, looking at Africa also as a country where there's a lot of potential. I mean, we have amazing floral designers here, and I know a lot of them are huge fans of yours. Even when we did just a preview online, there were people that saying we are big fans, and so you have a big followership. And I just want to thank you also that you are taking the opportunity to also through us speak to the people here, because that means the world to us right now, where we still feel we are sort of cut off in a way, not only from business, but we still have closed borders. We there is no connection. So we are still like very far off, like on the map when you look at the map. But through this and through people like you actually also bring us closer to you, and you come closer to us.
Aww.
So that's why I just want to say thank you very much. Here we have another huge fan. South African floral designer as well. So but from this moment, or from the momentum, and I think going back now a little bit to the now, the show, The Big Flower Fight, I think also was a huge success, because a lot of people were at home, they had time to actually watch it. B, it's a beautiful topic. I mean, like, there's nothing more beautiful than looking at beautiful things, and flowers most certainly are like beautiful things. What did you like when they approached you to actually partake in the project? Like, what was your initial like reaction? Like did you have the idea it would turn out like this exactly, or like what was your idea when they approached you to be part of that project?
Well, they did not tell me a lot about the project. They're very secretive, you know. Intellectual property can be stolen very easily, so I believe they were very secretive for that reason. And they just told me very light sort of concepts about the show. Once I was fully on board with the show, I was very excited, and they really looked to me to help to set the standard for all of the challenges. So we did a lot of pre-production where we talked about what we wanted them to create. There were tests and trials where we created it ourselves to see even if it was possible. And I really wanted to create an environment that was based on positivity. I told them in my audition for the show, I'm not the kind of judge that's going to be very cruel. I'm not really there to tear anyone down. If I'm disappointed, I'll let you know that I'm disappointed, but I'm not there just to create and, make drama happen on the show. So, and because I've done it, I've done the work. We're creative people, and I know that creative people are sensitive. So you have to be very respectful of the energy and the amount of, self that they pour into their work. So I wanted just to create an environment that was uplifting and encouraging while also adhering to sort of the rules of the competition. In terms of what I wanted the show to do, I had always, and you said it very early on, that there's something that's happened in the floral world I would say probably over the past 60 years or so, where flowers have become so common that they've lost their value. They've lost their magic, right? This is something that nature has created in crazy colors and crazy shapes, right? You can look at movies like Avatar, and they're using real life flowers like proteas in Avatar to create and craft an alien world. So we've got these sort of otherworldly species right here on Earth, and we're not appreciating it. So I always really wanted the Big Flower Fight to create a space and provide an opportunity to uplift the floral industry so it was viewed as a fine art. Right? Because once people start to really view it as a fine art, then some of that value will come back, and it will add and enrich the floral community. I talk a lot about, and this is a tangent, I'm on a tangent now. I talk a lot about within the floral industry, really valuing your art. And I'm talking monetarily, valuing your art and valuing yourself. When I first started doing flowers, I was doing, a bajillion weddings in a wedding season because I was doing weddings for like no money because I just wanted to be working. I was like, oh, I just want to be working. I just want to build my portfolio. I just want to have the experience. Now I do like 10 or 15 weddings a season, but the value has increased so much that I'm making up so much more money than I was making when I was doing 30 weddings. And it's because I recognize the power of no. I recognize the power of no. And then you're able to pay your staff what they deserve because they are also artists. You're able to pay, you know, for all the things that really make the operation run smoothly. So I figured in my head, if no one values flowers, how are we ever going to make a living? How are we ever going to turn this into a luxury industry? So going on the show for me was really part of my mission to uplift and elevate flowers into fine art. People will pay thousands of dollars for a painting, but they'll what? They can't pay you for your flowers? I put a lot of time into that. So it's really important that we continue to push each other and continue to uplift our industry so we can, you know, be making the income that we need to survive and have this be a real career and not just a hobby.
Yeah, that is very important what you are saying. I think we should just like take it in for a second, because what I think is like our job, let's say like that in bracket, is very much misconceptional in the normal ordinary people's eye, because exactly what you say, they believe we are people, they love flowers and they have a great hobby. It is maybe like that, but there's much more behind, because we just, as a floral designer, your purpose is not to become busy but to be profitable. That's exactly what it is. And like when you are profitable, then you are also in a certain way busy. But
Sure.
that goes wrong. But to be busy is not always mean you are profitable. So I think the other way around is not working. And I think we as floral designer all over the world, we can see that we are not be able always to be like in the position to give everyone the impression this is a profession. This is something that you need to learn, you need to experience, and this is something that is not done in a couple of moments, of hours. This is a real job that goes from preparation, like designing, preparation of the flowers, working with a big team or even a bigger team, and it doesn't stop when the event is finished. It actually goes above the end of the event, because of that, exactly, of like all like dismantling and like removing the flowers, maybe put them back to old age homes or whatever we do with the flowers, you know, or drying them or whatsoever. I think we cannot very often enough tell people like this is a real job, and it's not just, we call it jobby here in South Africa. It's not just a jobby, it's a real job.
Yeah, it is. It's a career. And, you know, there is a difference. And you really do have a range of options when you are working with florists. I will say that what I love to put out into the world are things that I'm excited about and things that inspire me. I don't know that every single designer has that perspective. Some designers are just like, bah, 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 shoving flowers into a vase, shoving flowers into whatever, and they're pushing it out. And it's that part of the conversation, it's those people that I really want to sit down with and help to understand that, you know, what they're working with and the products that they're working with are so precious and they are so important. And we really need to honor that life force that you have in your hands. And it's actually the fleeting nature of flowers that makes flowers so special. I get people saying to me all the time, wow, flowers, they only last 5 days. I'd rather buy a plant. Well, actually, That's what's beautiful about them. The fact that they're only here for a moment and you get to see them in their most beautiful moment. You're not seeing them when they're a little bud. You're not seeing them when they're just poking out the ground. You're seeing them in their prime. If only we could experience the rest of our life only witnessing people in their prime. How thrilling would that be?
Yeah.
So to have those 5 days of beauty on your table or on your nightstand or in your hand is something so, so, so special. So just turning and flipping that narrative from, oh, it's only here 5 minutes to, oh, it's only here 5 minutes. How amazing.
Yeah.
That sort of shift
Yeah. And you can,
is so important.
You are part actually of the, you are part, like whoever
of
is
the moment of the
of
flower.
the moment of the flower,
Yeah.
not vice versa. And I think
Yeah.
on the other side, and I mean, this goes along now, we speak as like traders, there is an entire industry behind a flower, making
Yeah.
sure that this flower is pampered, is grown, is pecked, is softly like moved from one place to the other to actually be ready for that moment to shine in the most like particular shape that is like that the flower has. So it's not just like, I mean, like cutting it out from the garden. Like there's an entire industry that's making sure that people get the most gorgeous and magnificent flowers that they are available. So,
Right.
And I mean, we have very big ties to a lot of farms around the world. And when people also like come with us to farms, when we show them like how people take care of the flowers, they also again receive a complete different appreciation for the whole like industry and for what it takes to actually like grow a flower. It's not just that it's there and it's delivered to your doorstep. No, I mean there's a whole process that is behind it.
And everyone that actually gets one of these flowers, and I mean, like, I don't know how you think about that or how you deal with that, but even I talk to all my flowers when I have them here.
So do I.
I talk to the flowers.
So do I.
I talk to them. And you know, like sometimes you have these little flowers with the little buds that actually you have no use for it. And sometimes I just like push them underneath some leaf or something, or we even have little glasses. And because they talk to me, they say like, why must I go to the rubbish bin? You know, like I mean, like I also want to be on the event. Yeah, I want to be on the wedding, you know. And I just cannot. I even take sometimes some out of the rubbish bin. You know,
Me
I'm
too.
crazy.
Oh yes. Oh yes. I'm the king of finding flowers on the floor and being like, oh, I'm gonna use you. I'm gonna put you right over here. And that's part of the craft. That's part of the experience. Is you when you are an artist and you really are taking craft seriously, you really recognize that every single thing, every move, every insertion that you're putting into that arrangement has value. And so being really intentional with your design is something that I talk about a lot when I'm, giving workshops, is that it may take you a minute. The first arrangement, if you're doing 20 arrangements, the first arrangement that you're going to do, give yourself time to figure it out. Be very intentional, learn the pattern, learn the stems. And then by the time you're at your 5th or 6th one, it'll be much quicker, I promise you. But in that first one, be very intentional with your design, because this is your opportunity to figure it out, to craft a moment, to craft a story. And that takes time. And so having that patience and that forgiveness for yourself is so important when you're working. And it's always from the lens of, this is our art. It's, yes, I want to be paid, cut the check, give me the cash. But at the end of the day, what's most satisfying for me is the journey through. It's the journey through the creative process. And so giving yourself space to really explore and figure out and learn in the moment is the biggest value that you can give yourself as an artist.
That's so true.
Yeah,
that's so true.
Beautifully said. I mean, it's really, it's nice. Can I just ask, because I just blended in one of the comments here, and I think maybe a lot of people who followed like are interested in behind the scenes knowledge, but I'm not sure in which way you can maybe answer that. Simone said, would love to know who came up with the weekly challenges in the big flower fight. Can you answer that?
Yeah, I can, of course. So the Big Flower Fight is a huge production. There are multiple producers. There's Netflix, which is the network. There's an entire art department that works incredibly hard to make that show run. You may see, one person in front of the camera, but behind that camera, there's 20 or 30 people right behind it. And so the challenge is it was a combination of myself, the producers, and the art department. The art department did a lot of the testing to see, okay, I would say I want them to make a giant sculpture out of, flowers and it should look like a hand. And they're like, okay, Kristen, we can't do that. Right? And so there's a lot of collaboration that went on to make sure that those challenges were A, exciting, and B, possible. They were actually able to be completed in the time that we gave them. So yeah, I would say it's a group effort.
Okay, cool. Like as always, usually it's everything in life is a group effort.
Yeah.
It's cool. It really is very collaborative.
Yeah. And that's actually nice also to see what you can achieve when you're working as a team. Like, I mean, I think there's also a lot of more messages out there than just like fighting against. And yeah. I think even like some were like a little bit about the wording. But I think by the end of the day, like it is just about what can you do with your peers to achieve a certain result, and how fast can you do it if you're working together. And that's, I think, the beautiful message that can be achieved, that there's so much more that people can achieve together than if they do it alone.
Right. And it's all about the artist community, and that show really gets to show the part of our community that I love the most. People ask me all the time, oh, what are you doing in your off time? And I'm like, I'm working for my friends. If I don't have a job that weekend,
what is off time?
Yeah, what's off time? That's first. I stay working for my friends. Really, I do. Because I know, and I call my friends who have their own businesses, and I say, hey, are you free this weekend to come work? Because I understand that it's not just about being at the sort of top of this pyramid. In my eyes, it's a circle. It's just a circle that we're all sort of existing on, and we're all part of this circle, and we're feeding into each other, right? We're helping each other grow, and we're helping each other learn. And it's because we have a mutual respect for the art. And you get to see that on the Big Flower Fight. It becomes tricky when it's a competition. It becomes tricky when it's a competition because I still have to figure out a way to send somebody home that week. And I can't send someone home if everyone's doing everyone else's homework. So it's hard. So it is a little bit, the stakes are higher in our show because, the fight part is the competition.
I just want to give like one more like person here the chance to ask a question on the show itself. She asked did they have a test run for the final challenge, or was it just an estimate for the amount of time it would take?
So every challenge was tested prior to the contestants having to do it. The contestants didn't get any testing at all. They had to work they got the challenge and then they had to go. But in terms of the back end, the production side, everything was tested prior to doing it. Now, when you're working outdoors, there are obviously nature and weather that you cannot account for. But in terms of like the skill level and the amount of time, everything was tested prior to.
Okay. I mean, I would think so, but I think that would be the real challenge. Not to test.
Are they really do it?
Usually I ask this we ask this a little bit like in the end, but I have maybe another question before that. I want to ask you, someone like you who have now, I think, like being part of the Big Flower Fight and your journey, is one of the most rewarding things that you have done. But you have done also incredible like work in terms of like clients that are booking you to actually do like events and weddings for them, and design work. If you would look into the future, and I'm not asking you to look into the crystal ball, because obviously everyone had it wrong when they were looking like at this moment in time.
And 2020
At
was
2020,
complete
I think,
different crystal ball. I
Yeah.
think we all had.
yeah, exactly. Like, ooh.
2020 has been so challenging.
Yeah.
Yeah, we just write
We
it off
just
the book.
Right.
But what is it? Yeah, exactly. That didn't happen. It just didn't happen. But if you look at like the things maybe that you have in mind, like just for yourself, what is it that is a dream of yours? Like, what is it like in terms of floral design, like in terms of for your business? What is it that you would really like to achieve, or for maybe whom you would want to work, or with whom you would want to work, or is there something that you have where you say, you know what, that's really very high on my like still bucket list, my personal bucket list?
Well, for me, it really goes back to getting floral design and design in general into as many homes as possible. I know the joy that it has brought me. It has brought me so much joy. And I think that it can be really transformative for someone's space. Flowers, by their sort of history, have nostalgia built into them. For every occasion that you can think of in your life, your baby shower, your wedding, your Valentine's Day, someone apologizing to you because they cheated on you, any sort of big moment in your life, flowers have played a role that is supposed to transform and bring joy. So I really want people to have the tools and the skills that they need in order to feel confident to bring flowers into their home, and bring it into their home in an elevated way, right? Because that is how we continue to uplift the industry. When you sort of take out, oh, I'm just putting it in the water and it's going to be dead in 2 days and the water's brown and it's all da. If you can actually build a relationship with your flowers in the same way that you build a relationship with that couch that no one's allowed to sit on because it's so expensive, because you love it, or that dress that you get to wear every 2 years that you work so hard to get into, right? It is, we can build a relationship so it feels like it is part of our lives. It is something special in our lives. I think that is really the goal. So any sort of opportunity where I can continue that narrative of building flowers as this really beautiful way to uplift and transform your space and your life at the same time is an opportunity that I'm interested in.
Oh, that's so wonderful. Actually,
yeah.
this is something like a word to the end. Maybe we can repeat this at the end again, because we want to talk a little bit further. I have seen, like, also because when I just listened, I was thinking like, we are a family business, and I have seen you have a little son, and from time to time, we are stalking you, you know, like we know like a lot about you and your family, and is it something that you think you would learn, maybe your son, when he is interested, how to do flowers and how to do decor and maybe something like that? Is it something that you would maybe think like, okay, I would enjoy working with my son one day in the future? Or do you think, no. I mean, like, he maybe should get like in a totally different direction?
Well, you know, obviously I want him to be a doctor.
Or a lawyer.
A doctor or a lawyer or like an investment banker or something. So when it comes time to, I'm old and old, he can take care of me.
Don't say a president.
No. But, you know, look, for him, I want him to do whatever makes him happy. And I think when you are living your life authentically and you're living your life, oh, I see a UPS truck. When you're living your life authentically and when you're living your life with passion, people around you can't help but be inspired by that. And for him, for every single little kid out there, every little brown child out there that didn't think that being a florist could be cool. I want them to be able to look at me and say, wow, I never thought of that as a cool career, but look at him. He looks like he's fun. He looks like he's doing it. I want to do that when I grow up. So creating a space where people can live an authentic life and a life that's led by passion is the most important thing for me. So if Hugo sees me and he's thinking, wow, daddy's having so much fun, daddy is really thriving right now, I want that, that looks like the pathway to happiness, then maybe he can find his way into flowers. But really, if, he can go be a hairdresser, and I think if he's passionate about that, that's what I really want for him. Because the money will come when you're good at what you do and you're passionate about it. And so giving him the space to do that is important.
Now, this is exactly what it is. And also what you said at the beginning, for a lot of people, it is not what they do right now. It wasn't their dream job at the beginning. And it takes sometimes a U-turn to come to what you really love to do, that you can do this actually. Like when I remember, like when Alfie was a little girl, she always said she never wanted to work with us because she saw like how hard it was to run your own business.
Yeah, very difficult.
So that's why we let her study, we let her travel the world, and all of a sudden she just came back and we are working.
Here I am.
Here I am. We work together, and we really enjoy working together. I must actually must be very honest. But that should be an encouragement for a lot of people out there. Exactly what you said. When you have a passion for something, just like do it.
Follow the passion.
Follow the passion.
Don't follow the money.
Don't follow the money. Exactly. The money will come when you have passion. And I think that's the right way to do it. And a lot of people just need like that one more step to hear that, to go out and to do it. I think like we want to encourage those, they listen to us right now, and maybe they need this little bit of a push to just go in the right direction.
Yeah, it's true. And it can be scary. It can be very scary because you have needs that need to be met, and you have requirements. You have your lights to keep on. You have your mortgage. You have all these sort of really big responsibilities that are important to all of us. So it can be very scary. So, I was lucky. I was in grad school. I had dedicated time. Not everyone has that opportunity. Not everyone has the time. But if you can find to steal an hour or steal 30 minutes just to practice in your space, that's where it starts. So really like giving yourself the opportunity to explore that interest, even if it is a small amount, can shift your world, and it can shift your worldview, and it'll help you find the path that you need to take in order to make it a success for yourself.
Mm-hmm. Kristen, I want to touch maybe towards the end of our conversation on a hot topic, maybe on a hot topic that is quite actual, and particularly in the US, I think still something that is quite big. It's been always like that, but coming from a point like in Africa, like in South Africa, where culture plays a huge role also every day in our life. I mean, we have 11 officially recognized languages. We have a lot of cultural, I'll call them races now, because I just want to go towards that topic. We have a very difficult history in South Africa when it comes to how races have been dealing like with each other. And I know you have been very vocal, obviously, because you also can take your platform now and raise your voice and like just like try to make sense of a situation that I think for a lot of people is still very difficult. Yeah. And I'm applauding you that, because I also believe that it's not about color, it's about skill. In any business, in any industry, in anything that we are doing. But just I want to hear maybe a personal story, if you can share one, of how difficult it is as a very talented a Black American floral designer to be successful in an environment that maybe has different looks, like on the industry? Because I know there's a lot of clicks, you know, there's a lot of, okay, we only work with those people, we only work with those people, and how hard is it actually to break out of this, to make a name as like really someone who is just like just young and hungry and want to follow into what our journey. And maybe you can share a little bit of your story, of how you became who you are, and maybe also what obstacles and challenges you had to face. But I think by the end of the day, it just makes you stronger for where you are right now.
Well, in America right now, we are really having a reckoning with racism in our country. And we are really having to take a deep look at the systemic issues that have added to this very racist and hateful rhetoric that we experience. And there's two kinds. There's, very overt, and then there's subversive. And so we're sort of experiencing it on all levels. And in terms of my platform, it's interesting. I had always felt like, especially Instagram for me, was all about promoting beauty and was all about promoting, a beautiful space where people can sort of exist and thrive as artists. And it's because you're probably hearing my dog barking right now.
Marshall! Hi, cutie.
All good.
Another cutie.
I know. I'm gonna come over here. If I don't come over, he's gonna keep just going crazy. Marshall, come here. Come here. There's somebody at the door, and he's freaking out. Come here, buddy.
No problem.
Hi.
No
Okay.
This is just like real life.
Yeah, there we go.
Okay. So as I was saying, I had always wanted Instagram to be about the beauty. I wanted Instagram to be about, something more than this sort of like political space where people felt like they had to constantly be talking about these hard things. And it got to a point where I just could not deny what was happening. And like you said, I recognized that all of a sudden, all these people were following me, and it all happened sort of like very fast once the show came out. I went from like no one knowing who I was to a lot of people looking up to me. And I felt like, and I still feel like, I have a responsibility to speak truth to power. And because there are so many people who are marginalized who don't have that opportunity. So that's sort of the platform piece of why I felt inspired to use my voice to affect change. And then the other part comes from really, I just could not imagine a world where my son is white, my husband is white, I'm Black. How am I going to explain to my son that I am more likely, as his brown daddy, I'm more likely to be killed and hurt by the sort of powers and authority that are there to protect us, right, by the police, than his other dad is? How do you explain that to your son? How do you explain that to anybody? So that sort of idea really has affected me very deeply. And it's hard to imagine that conversation that I'm going to have with him. I mean, he's only 2 right now. But that also leads to, if we're not talking about race, if we're not talking about racism, then that's part of the problem. A lot of people want to say, oh, racism doesn't exist. It's not a real thing. Let's not talk about it. But actually not talking about it is part of the issue, because you're then denying the experiences of other people. You're ignoring the experiences of other people who have been hurt by racism. We've all seen the videos. We've all seen the violence. And so what we need to do in order to heal is to admit that it exists. Acting like it doesn't exist is actually perpetuating this idea that, we're all equal when we're not. When you can actually look at the receipts and look at all the information and the data that's out there that shows that this is actually happening. So I think it's important to sort of shifting our perspective. Instead of saying, racism is bad, I want people to say, how can I be an anti-racist? An anti-racist is an activating word. It means I am actively working to combat racism. It's not saying I'm not racist. It's saying I am an anti-racist, which means I'm going to talk about it because it's real, it exists. I'm going to work to dismantle the systems that have held and oppressed people of color away. I'm going to take those systems away. I'm going to work against it. I'm going to speak truth to power. And then I'm going to do whatever I can to create an environment that is based on equality. Like you said earlier, skill, equality, all of those things interact. But you have to actively be doing that. It's not a passive thing. So we have to all take a stance that says we are anti-racist, which means we are actively working to combat racism. I know that was a lot.
Yeah,
no, that's
and
very
I think
important.
it's very important. It's not only like, and that's again, it's not only
an American
a phenomenon that is like in America, and I mean, and that's why also I want to address it, because I feel, or we feel, it's important that you just speak about it, that you're verbal about it, that you acknowledge that something like this exists, and that you also acknowledge that it's not right. On whichever level it is not right.
And I mean, like we talked a lot about this because we have a lot of like colleagues, friends in America. We follow a lot the things that happen in your country. We see this with great shock, actually, like what happens there. And we were talking about this, and I said I personally must be very honest. I have never thought that racism in America is still that deep as we experience, as we get to know, to
it's
experience.
Systematic in a way. Unfortunately, I can just always like almost say this.
I thought actually America is already a step ahead of what we get to know right now.
It's been shocking.
That's why
it has, and I think that is what
important to talk about.
Yeah, and I think that's what a lot of people are experiencing, in the same way that we are all of a sudden having space to explore our interests, and we have all this time on our hands because we're being told to stay inside. That time is also allowed people to wake up and see with their own eyes what is happening. Before, people were able to sort of say, this, if only they would have listened to the police, that wouldn't happen. We were able to make up excuses. We were able to make up excuses for why these sorts of things were happening. But when you are faced with the cold and true reality and the video evidence of the abuse, you cannot excuse it away. And when that happens, you start to go through your own Rolodex of experiences, right? You start to think back in your own head of, wait, I did something. If I would have done that, I would have gotten away with it, right? As a white person, you can say to yourself, wait, when I was, 12 years old, I shoplifted a candy bar, and all the shop owner did was told me to put it back. But now you're realizing that if that were a brown child who did that, they could have been killed for the exact same thing that people who look different, that white folks, are getting away with. So I think a lot of people, myself included, we're all going through our Rolodex of experiences, and we're starting to connect the dots. We're connecting the dots of things that have happened in our lives. Things where maybe you got away with cheating on a test, right? Where now you're seeing, wait, I cheated on that test and I didn't get in trouble. The teacher was just like, do the test over. But my friend who cheated on the test, who's brown, he got expelled from school. It's those sort of systemic things. And now that brown child's life has forever been changed. His trajectory, his high school, his college, his postgraduate, it's all been changed by this one thing that other people have not experienced. So when you're looking and you're holding to yourself truthfully, you then ask the question, how do I change this? I recognize my own part in it, but now I'm forced with the option to continue in this system, or do I tear the system down? And that is very traumatic. That is very traumatic for a lot of people, right? Because then you start to deal with your own guilt, right? You need to get past that guilt, and get into the activism part. You need to activate yourself so it does not continue. Once the guilt is gone, that's fine, great, live in that moment, but then push past it and allow yourself to become an anti-racist.
Thank you. I think it's generally important, and I mean it's a little bit off topic of flowers, and I think maybe we'll have the last question like back on flowers, but it just concerns also your life, and your life also as a floral designer. And I think, and I don't even want to touch on the things that you might have personally experienced because of your color, that has also affected who you are, But I think just right now, what we need to do is we need to try to look forward. We need to try to see the light at the end of the tunnel for various reasons. I mean, obviously this comes now everything together, You have this the issue of racism, we have the economic problems, we have health crisis, we have we have so many things to deal with right now that I think, again, we are in a beautiful position because we are working with the most delicate and the most beautiful things that nature has to offer.
Right.
No, just carry on.
And I think that is one of the big advantages that we have, over any accountant, over any doctors, over any lawyers or whoever is out there. We can also create magic, and we can create a different world for our clients. And also for us, because I think a lot of people who are in the flower industry, they create their own worlds, when they immerse themselves into that world, and they create something for their clients that is just out of this world, including you. So my final question would be is there a dream job in the sense of maybe a location or a place where you would say, I would love to go there and have, I don't know, at the Tour d'Eiffel, or I don't know, putting a bunch on the Statue of Liberty, or just having something crazy, because you're a crazy in a positive crazy positive artistic person. Is there something where you say, you know what, this would be my game, this would be really something I would love to do?
You know what I love about our industry?
Just also bring smiles to people. This is where I'm coming from. To really bring smiles to people, because I know that flowers have the power to change a mood of a person, and that's the most powerful thing.
What I love about our industry is that we can get flowers delivered anywhere. So, I think that I would do flowers behind a dumpster if the dumpster was interesting. Really, it doesn't matter where it is, because flowers can go with us wherever we're going, and it's the flowers that transform the space. And so that power within design, to really turn something that was very plain into something magical, I think can be placed really anywhere in the world. I have always loved these sort of desert locations. I think there's something very sort of magical about pairing something that's very alive with something that's very dead, right? That juxtaposition of this dry, arid area in the desert, or, the salt flats in Utah, I think could be very interesting visually to have this very vibrant moment happening in the desert. I also have never done flowers in Italy. I think Italy has some of the most beautiful, locations landscapes. I would love, love, love to be able to do something very like editorial and beautiful in Italy. I think those sort of, century-old chateaus in Paris and in France, where the paint and the plaster is peeling off the walls, like very beautiful historical places. I would love to do flowers in that kind of space. So it's really finding places that, can enhance and enlighten the environment. Any place like that has interest to me. But again, honestly, I'll do flowers anywhere. I really will. I don't discriminate.
That's amazing to hear. And I mean, like Italy, I can just like say I was last year in Italy with a couple of days, just like going places that was on my bucket list. And I can just say, just do it. Just do it.
I
It's
will. As
really
soon as this is
amazing.
over, I'm going to go. As soon as this is over, I'm going to go.
Yeah. But my final question would be, and I wanted to ask you something different, but now I have another final question. When I was listening to you as as a person, you describe yourself like, or also like as brown people. Do you have any connection to, let's say, the aunt sisters, like your roots in Africa? Do you have any connection that you personally feel like to say, okay, I maybe would be interested to go one day to Africa to see where my roots from, I don't know how many centuries coming from?
Yeah, absolutely. I think that any Black person or I'm speaking for African Americans, right? I think a lot of our identity in America as Black people has been rooted that we have come from Africa. And my immediate heritage is West Indian. My mother's from Jamaica and my dad's from Trinidad. But they weren't always, they weren't always there. They were not always there. And my grandfather on my mom's side is actually, I think he's a quarter Chinese. So there's a lot of, there's a huge melting pot that I think runs through my, family tree. And that's what it really sort of highlights for me, is that this moment, at the end of the day, we're all human. And this sort of idea that, you guys are all just Caucasian or all white, or this idea that I'm all Black, is a fallacy. It's not true. And if you look at your own history, you're going to find out that maybe you're a little bit Welsh. You're probably German roots, and that could even date back. There's Middle Eastern in there. We're all mixed up with so many things. You might even be a little bit Jewish for all I know. Like, I have no idea. And so this idea that like we're not all one people, that humanity in itself needs to be separated and divided into these races, is a social construct. It's not real. It doesn't exist. It is something that humans have done to each other to push each other away and to push each other down. So I would love to go to Africa and to see how beautiful it is, and the landscapes, and
we
have
a desert here for you.
I'm on my way. But I would love all of that. I would love to find out more about myself. I think it's so important to connect with who you are as a human, and also with nature. And again, the landscapes. Take me to the landscapes.
And the animals. I can tell
and the animal.
When you actually go like out on a safari and you see the giraffes, you hear the lions roaring.
I love it.
At night, like when you sleep under the stars, and for example in Kenya, in the Masai Mara, the hippos are moving around your tent.
I love it. Yes. Take me right now.
Yeah.
Let's go.
Yeah. So we really welcome you. We welcome to World to Africa. I think that is also one of the parts, as I mentioned, why we want to also like do the Piece of the Puzzle series, also because we are big ambassadors for Africa, like to bring also people to Africa, to experience Africa, for them to open their hearts to Africa, and obviously for us, for the people that we are here to welcome everyone with open arms, and that they just like see how friendly, how warm people are here, and also how professional, like on a professional base, what is the level of service that people can expect, because I think still it's very much underrated and under expected. And so thank you for your interest in Africa. I think that's amazing, and we also are ready to welcome people like generally from all over the world to experience how amazing Africa
And
is.
we would assist you personally if you bring a bride or a couple for a wedding here in Africa.
We bring you the flowers.
We
You do
bring
the
you
job.
the
You
flowers,
you do your magic, and we just bring you the flowers. Any flowers.
I love it.
Exactly.
Deal. I love it. Thank you so much
Wonderful.
for having me.
Thank you so much.
It was such a wonderful experience talking to you and covering actually a lot of topics from your history until a lot of like current like concerns that a lot of people have. We thank you for your honesty, and we thank you for the love and the smile. Like when I
And your
see
passion,
you,
your passion. Thank you for your
Oh,
passion.
thank
when
you.
I see you smiling, like this is just like sunshine. It's really amazing. Thank you so much. And thank you, America. Have a wonderful day, all out day, and floral regards from South Africa.
Thank you so much for your time. Stay safe and regards to your family.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you so much for having me. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Kristen, are you still there?